is Live La Nina, and I am back with another action anime review. This week, I am going to be reviewing My Hero Academia Season 2. Season 2 of My Hero Academia is actually one of my favorite seasons of the show because of the sports festival. Yes, that's right. We finally have a festival, which actually kind of bleeds into a tournament little arc. So the motive of this season is the students are competing in a festival to show off their quirks, to show off their talents and what they've been learning at UA High in hopes of getting an internship to work with a pro hero. So that is, I would say, the main plot of season 2. Now, there is a little bit of conflict. We do get introduced to Stain, and Stain is a hero killer with very strong ideals. And as his name suggests, he kills heroes. Additionally, we also see Midoriya get trained by Gran Torino. And this is very important because this is when Midoriya starts to really learn how to control One for All, which is a big thing for me. And finally, we see the students fight against their teachers, and we have Midoriya and Bakugo, who are on the same team, who fight against their idol, All Might. Just another disclaimer, because I feel like I need to say it again. My Hero Academia is by far my favorite anime right now, current anime, and it's in my top 3 of all time. So be prepared for some really high numbers. Starting with, how does the main character balance independence and teamwork? He gets a 10. Deku gets a 10 immediately because we see some of his best work, both individually and as a team, in the festival. We see it the whole festival, working with a team. We see him fighting against people individually in the tournament matches. So we see all of that. We see Deku really do the best of both worlds in season 2. Is the story consistently exciting and well-paced? This one, I give it a 9. And I'm going to say I give it a 9 because there's a lot of action and the story moves well. But I did think that the festival and the tournament was a little bit dragged out. So can't give it a 10, but lots of action for sure. Do the subplot enhance the main character's motivation and overall story? This one, I give it an 8. So Midoriya is striving to get better in his training with Gran Torino, and we definitely see a night and day between him using One for All in season 1 and him using it in season 2. He's still breaking stuff, but we see a major improvement. And additionally, he's hoping that All Might will be there when he finally defeats All for One, because he's been told, that battle is going to be between you and him. It's not going to be All Might anymore. So we see a lot of that kind of start to come to fruition here. Are the antagonists well developed? This one, I give it a 7. And no, I'm not intentionally counting down from 10. I just noticed that. But so the second half of the season, when we meet Stain, the hero killer, he is definitely portrayed as the antagonist, but we don't learn a lot about him. Well, we learn about his ideals, but we really get into the nitty-gritty of who he is and why he's that way much later in the show. So we don't get all of that up front. And then, of course, All for One is still the overall main antagonist. And we do learn about his quirk and his brother and how One for All was initially created. So we get some good information there, which is why it does get a 7, but there's still a lot of things that are yet to come. How well does the main character grow from defeat or failure? Back out of 10. Yes, we are back out of 10 because Deku starts to learn how to overcome the sheer just an intense power of One for All, and he's able to hone it better without hurting himself so much. So we see him, grow in that aspect because, again, season 1, Deku was breaking limbs, not even able to walk. He was getting intense healing, so he's starting to overcome that, and he's starting to be able to channel that power so he can really use One for All. So for the final ratings, we have 10, 9, 8, 7, and 10, which gives us 44. And 44 out of 50 gives us an 8.8, which is wonderful. And let me tell you something. I am sure that this is going to continue to go up. And I know it's not ever going to be less than this because I've enjoyed every season of My Hero Academia. But 8.8 is great. It's very great. And again, this is early in the show because My Hero Academia, I believe right now they just finished season 7 and the final season's coming. So we're on season 2 of 8 total. So there's lots of room to grow, but he's already starting at an 8, almost a 9. So no matter what number rating any show gets, there's always going to be things I don't like. For season 2, I did not like that it does have a bit of a slow burn compared to season 1. Now remember, season 1 was shorter. Episode-wise, season 1 is shorter than season 2. So there's more in season 2. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of story development, but it is a little slower compared to season 1. That's one thing. Deku breaking things is always going to be there until he is no longer breaking things. And even though he's gone from breaking arms and legs, to fingers, he's still breaking stuff and it's still aggravating. And then I don't like, this is something overall with the show. We get bits and pieces of information and they usually kind of bring them in as like flashbacks or, flash elsewheres. And that's important with Stain because we meet Stain and, for someone to come in hot being a hero killer, you would think that you would kind of get all that information at least in a season or 2. But again, we see Stain again in the season that just aired in season 7. So bits and pieces of information. It takes a while for things to come full circle, but I understand it's a show and they can't give it all to us at once, and then it's a longer running show, so you have to have patience, but some stuff can be a little confusing that way as well. And for things that I liked, more like things I love. So that festival was such a great arc. I love the festival. I actually rewatched that frequently because I love how well done it was. The headbands challenge was really stressful because Midoriya had the 1,000,000-point headband because he was in the lead going in, and they lost it. His team, they lost the headband. Somebody snatched it. It was nothing he could do, and trusting in his team. Well, not entirely because his team was like, we don't know where that headband is. We should go try to get some other ones. He was like, no, we've got to get it back. And he thought that he had grabbed it, but they pulled a switcheroo on him. But his teammate was actually able to get another headband because there was an opening. So they did secure their spot to go to the next round. And it was just like, the scene where he started crying, it was just crazy to me because I was so stressed because he lost that headband in an instant and I felt him. He was like, no, we need to try to get that back. Even though his team was like, no, we should just go for the other ones because we don't know where they are. But it all worked out, so. 1000万を取るのが本意だったろうが、そううまくはいかないな。警戒が薄くなっていた頭の方をいただいておいた。よい、緑谷チーム! Number one love. It was great seeing Midoriya get his quirk more under control as well because I always gripe about him breaking things, but he started to get that under control this season. So not much longer, but he's making progress. And finally, the animation during Todoroki and Deku's fight in the festival is one of the best animation scenes I have seen in any anime. That scene alone drove me crazy. I love that so much. In addition to that same fight, Deku gave a speech, unfortunately, but he reminded Todoroki because Todoroki has half of his quirk, well, not half of his quirk, he has half of him is fire from his father and half is ice from his mother. And he resents his father. There's a lot of history and trauma there. But Deku reminds him, because Todoroki is adamant about not using fire at all. He doesn't like to use his fire side. He only uses ice. But Deku reminds him that that's his quirk too. So he should use it how he sees fit. And that frees Todoroki from thinking that way. And we see that, Todoroki even says, thank you. And there's so much growth that Todoroki has in the show as well. But that was the start of it. And that also shows just what kind of person Deku is and who he becomes. So lots of loves for this season, for sure. In conclusion, thank you for sticking with me for this ride. I know I talked a lot about this one, but I told y'all I love My Hero Academia. I love it, love it, love it. But season 2, another great season. We start to see more control from Deku. We start to learn more about our villains. And we start to see the clans grow together as well, which is very important because they don't do anything alone. They are in this together. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you would like me to review next. Thanks, guys.